I'm Emma Varnum. I'm a crochet blogger and crochet author. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I enjoy making patterns which just spark my own creativity, and I really enjoy sharing them with you. I've written a range of different books on a range of different subjects. I love making toys, I love making plants and flowers, and I really love making vintage blankets and blankets which really reflect that old worldy style. So I love sharing those with you either through my magazine designs or my books or on the blog. So recently I have been watching some more vlogs myself, some more YouTube channels. I really enjoy watching a gardening one called Common Farm Flowers, and Georgie really inspires me with her garden and her business, and I've really enjoyed that. I'm also really enjoying some quilting vlogs. Now, they're not the subject matter that I'm involved in terms of craft, but they've really been inspiring me in terms of colour and thoughts. And I have also in the last year, maybe 18 months, been looking at quilting patterns as an inspiration for some of my blanket designs. I made a Scandi blanket design for Inside Crochet many years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and it's the combination of shapes which you can create through crochet granny squares, which really work really well to create different patterns and being inspired. So this spring, I haven't really shared this, and if you're looking at this later you'll be able to find photographs of it. This is what I'm calling the Tutti Frutti blanket. So it uses Stylecraft, Bellissima and Bambino, and it has a really zingy colour palette. And I really enjoyed making this. It's sort of 3 square motifs by 3 square motifs, and it works well. It's large for a double bed and it works well on a king size bed, and I really loved the combination. It's not really complicated. It uses a solid block pattern and it uses half and half squares, and I've used half and half squares quite a lot in my patterns. The Stargazer blanket, which I did last year, which is really popular, uses a half and half pattern. So I'm going to share this really soon, but whenever you make a blanket, I was trying to use up quite a few of my things in my stash. I've had to add a few colours that I hadn't used. This is avocado, can you believe it, this colour. I was trying to get a different colour yellow to go with the pattern. So it's blues and pinks and peaches and yellows. So no purples and no greens, but it really has created something really bright and breezy. And I started it to try and get rid of my stash, and I learnt to crochet because I was wanting to usefully use up my yarn stash as a knitter. And honestly, my yarn stash has just got larger. So if you learn to crochet with that purpose in mind, that's not going to work. But I thought I would show you what I'm working on this summer. And I'm going to show you some projects that have been finished, and they're important, and really I'm going to be sharing them in terms of books that I've written in the last year. But I'm also going to show you sort of behind the scenes what I'm making for myself. There's no pattern involved. I'm not publicising anything. I don't know if I'm going to publish the Tutti Frutti blanket at all. It's just something I made for myself at home. So there's that one, and I'm not sure I'm going to release that pattern. There's really no need, and that's that. But I have several things on the go. So this is coming out, I think coming out now. This is 10,000 Crocheted Hats. So I'm showing you this, and there are other films on YouTube which tell you about a bit about this book, but it's sort of like a flip book, and you can choose the crown and the brim differently. But when I designed this book, and this is the reason I'm showing you, I used one type of yarn. So I used Starcraft Special DK double knit weight yarn, and Starcraft Special DK is really popular yarn in Britain, and so every example in this book uses that that yarn, so it's consistent, and that's the reason I did that. And really, I think you could use up yarn from your own stash, okay? But when you're creating a book, really people want to know what did you use, which colours did you use. They want to know that. So that meant that I had to get lots of different yarns, and I had to get like a new ball for each hat to make sure that I didn't use up. It wasn't ever going to use up a full 100 grams of yarn, but that's the reason I got it, and so I was able to quote exactly the colour I used. But that meant I've got a lot of stash left over. So I thought there's quite a lot of different colours left over and a lot of things left over. So I've got a lot of yarns in my yarn stash of DK weight. Then another book which is about to come out in the autumn is Vintage, Granny Squares Vintage. And in that book I've got a number of patterns that use Aran weight yarn. So I'm going to show you, if you follow me on Instagram or on the blog, and I'll put links to that at the bottom of this video, you will know what I'm making in an Aran weight yarn, but I thought I'd show you. So here is the beginnings of my Aran weight blanket, she says, pulling it all up, for my son. And I've used, you can see blues and sort of reds and peaches, and I'm making him a blanket before he leaves home. I'm kind of obviously subconsciously trying to when he leaves home, I'm subconsciously trying to speak to him. Coffee, delicious. Anyway, so I've done 3 rows, 3 terraces. I'm now onto my 4th terrace, and I thought I'd share with you what I was making. So I'm calling this the Stash Heap challenge, and I'm trying to get through my yarn stash. The only difficulty, and I don't know if you have this, is that you start doing a yarn stash, kind of trying to make something from your yarn stash, and then you run out of a particular colour that you particularly like, and then you end up buying another ball of that wool to finish it off. Anyway, I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So this is the 4th row. I'm being consistent on a couple of things. The doors on this blanket I'm using for the main colour for the roof. I'm looking at this. So that's the sort of rule that I'm having. I'm not getting really into what colour I'm doing there. I'm just trying not to repeat using the same colour on one row. I'm doing 8 little houses, and then I'm doing, it's actually, it looks black, but it's actually a navy sort of road in the centre. I'm not going to make it into a road, it's just splitting it up for me. I really, when you see it in a distance, I really like it. It's sort of, when I can see it in the camera, I really like it more. I think you get a sense of it. And what's hilarious is I must have this kind of rhythm of when I like to introduce colour. I'm stupid at not seeing, but can you see there's 2 peach houses, I must have a sense of, oh, this is now I want to go to peach. Can you see? But I'm not undoing it, I'm not redoing it, I'm sorry. I'm just enjoying it, and I'm not getting, because it's not going to go anywhere, it's not going to be published. I don't feel like I have to do a perfect job. So that is my knitting stash heap challenge with Aran wool, and I like to do some knitting and some crochet. So crochet feels like the job and knitting feels like the hobby sometimes. I mean, knitting is still my hobby, but I'm just saying that's the way. Anyway, so that's one, and that's going to try and bring down my Aran stash that I've accumulated. This is Stylecraft Special Aran I've used. It's really good for washing, which is the reason I've used it. It's a really good wash blanket. What I will say, which is the downside of knitting a blanket, is I don't particularly like the wrong side. And I think I'm going to end up backing it with some kind of quite lightweight cotton material. And I would also say my friend Josie Kitten came to me and said, Emma, you're really going to have a lot of ends to sew in. She's right. So if you're not a massive fan of ends and sewing ends in, this isn't the blanket for you. This isn't the design for you, but I love it. It's called the Safe at Home pattern. You can find it on Ravelry. I'll put a link to it in the notes below, and I'm really enjoying it. I'll do 10 days of making houses, and then I'll stop. I quite enjoy doing the long rows, and I use a really long circular needle for doing this garter stitch. And I was talking to my friend Christine, who said she didn't like doing garter stitch, but I really enjoy it. So that's good. I'm loving it. But then watching some videos, and I'm really late to the party, but I was watching Kate from the last Homely Home, and I was loving watching her, all of the different crafts she does. And I think I often feel a bit guilty about how I flip from one thing to the next, and I really like to have something really, I might be making crochet plants or crocheted flowers, and then I'll make a hat, and then I'll be on the blanket, and people will say, oh Emma, you'd be better off just concentrating on one thing. I've just made some dolls and released the doll pattern, but I feel I have to just accept that I like making lots of different things, and I'm really stimulated by making a new thing. So maybe I should just embrace that. And so watching Kate and all the projects she's got on the go really inspired me, and I thought, oh yes, this lady who is like just going from one project to the next, and she comes back to another project. And the other thing about quilting, it seems to be a bit slower as well, and that really appealed to me, that she was taking a long, maybe 3 years over a blanket. So thank you for inspiring me, Kate, and I apologise everybody that you'll be already aware of Kate's amazing YouTube channel, etc. But when she was talking about her scraps and using up her scraps, and it really inspired me to think about reducing. We don't talk about scraps, we talk about stash. So I thought, I really need to go through my stash, and so I'm calling it the Stash Heap Challenge for this summer. And if you're making something which is reducing down your yarn stash, will you share it with me? So I thought I'd share with you what I'm doing and it comes from a really old-fashioned idea. It's two things. One, I was inspired by Kate from The Last Homely Home. I hope I've got that right. And then Alice Caroline, who is has an amazing quilting shop of Liberty Fabrics, and I enjoy watching her Instagram feed. And behind her, she has a rainbow sort of wash of what they in the quilting world seem to call a postage stamp design. And we in the crochet world would call it a Battenberg design. So years and years ago, I made my river blanket. I used the little bits that were left at the end of my river blanket to make a Battenberg cushion for our kitchen. And I'm sat in our kitchen now, and I loved making this. And it's 2 rows of a solid block granny square, and I was inspired. Now, if you're looking for a really good tutorial, please go to my friend Sandra of Cherry Heart, her YouTube channel. She's got some great, she's got the best crochet tutorials there. So if you're wanting to kind of get started on doing a Battenberg pattern, she's a great place. And I used her join. She uses 3 rows. I've used 2. But I love this cushion. I'm very fond of it. But I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could sort of replicate the Alice Caroline, and I don't know if she's actually got a pattern on the back of at all, but it's behind her, so it's sort of her background. So I've started pulling together all of the scraps in different hues, and I'm just going to explain to you what I'm doing. I'm going to do 6 hue blocks. So red, so a block which is red based, then a block that's orange based, then a block that's yellow based, then a block that's green based. Here's my green one. And you'll see that I have joined my squares differently to how Sandra joined hers, and I might, if there's a desire, I can show people how I've done that, but otherwise, you know. And then I'm going to do a blue, and then I'm going to do a purple, and I'm going to use the yarns that I have got in my stash. It's my Stash Heap challenge, and I'm going to try and reduce down my yarns. So I have done the orange, and I haven't actually sewn them in. I'm halfway, just over halfway through my red. So here are my orange ones, the orange yarns. I've got an okay range of the orange, to be fair. Not too bad. Bits and bats like peaches. It's quite rusty. So I'm taking a broad thought about that. Collect those together. These are my knitting needles that I'm using for the Homely House blanket. Red and pink, I'm a massive fan of, as you can tell. So I have a really good range of those, and you can see I'm nearly there. So the blocks I'm doing are 5 by 5, and that's a finished one, the green. So I think I'm going to make 5 blocks across, and I know I'm going to make 6 blocks down. But collecting together all of my yarns, I know that I've got a bit of a trouble with yellow. And these are all in wool based, these are all DK wool based yarns. So I'm not using cotton. I am using cream that I've got left over, and I will interchange the creams. So this is Starcraft Bambino or Bellissima in cream. This is Starcraft Special cream. They're not the same, but I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to use them up. So I know I've got quite a few reds and pinks. Orange is fine, I think. Yellow is dodgy. Yellow is not good. Purple's not good. So you can see where I don't go in my colour schemes. Blue is absolutely, I'm cock a hoop with blue. I can do any blue. And more blue you can then shake a stick at. So I haven't started the blue, but the yellow one is going to be a bit, ugh. Anybody got any sort of yellow hanging about at home? I can send it. Because I don't want to buy any more yarn. I'm trying to get down the yarn that I've got. So my plan is, I thought I would share with you as we go along how it's looking and see what you think about it. Yeah, if you would like to join me and tell me what you'll be doing to reduce down your stash for the Stash Heap Challenge 24, that would be great. And I will perhaps next week share a block with you on the blog, just as a schematic and a pattern, and I'll perhaps share with you how many I'm going to do. So there you go. I'm really excited about it. I feel quite inspired by it. I'm flicking between this and, oh, it's on my lap, this. Do want this finished by the end of September. It's not a really easy thing to take on a trip or travelling as it's growing, although because I like to use all of the colours, so I kind of need all the colours near me. Anyway, this one's a bit more travel. I'm a bit more able to use this on travel, but I'm kind of liking it already. As you can see, when you go to the next range, you have to have alternate colours for it to make sense, but we'll see how it works out. I think it might be a lot of fun, and it is going to be a large-ish blanket, but it's so easy, it shouldn't be any problem. So there you go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. All of this is to reduce down my yarn stash and to make use of what I've got in stock, and little thing, like all the little bits as well that I've got left over from old projects. So like this pink, which is a Jameson, it's not quite a decal, well it Jameson will be going in to the pink at some point, one of the blocks with red and pinks. It could perhaps, I don't think I'll put it with the oranges anyway, but it's these little bits that I've got left over. I can't bear the thought of throwing them away, and I'm just going to use them. So thank you for joining me. If you've enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up, as Kate would say, give a thumbs up and subscribe. Leave comments in the comments box, and hopefully I'll join you really soon. I'm hoping to put a few more tutorials on for you. People have been asking me for tutorials, and I'm going to hopefully do that. So thanks so very much for joining me, and have a really good week. Bye.